It's time to enter the drone zone with me, James Drone, aka Pure Ambient Drone. So hit that subscribe button, tap that bell, and get ready to synth on.
Hey there, Synth Drones. We are back with episode number 26 of Midnight Synthesizer Talk with me, James Drone, the voice of synthesizers. This is the place where we close our eyes, open our ears, and expand our minds. And tonight, I want to talk about the Roland D-05. It's a boutique, and it's a remake of the Roland D50 synthesizer from the 80s. Now, being a boutique, this thing is small. And I'm not a big fan of the boutique line from Roland, but I have to tell you that this is my favorite one out of all of them. And did you know that thus far, as of the making of this video, it's the only one that has 16 note polyphony? That's right, 16 note. That is something that a lot of people don't know because their others were like 4 notes. And so it's a surprise for a lot of people to hear that this one is actually 16 note. So it's pretty awesome. They did a really great job in the sound department. Now here's the thing. I have a Phantom 2019, and I got to tell you that it can do some of these sounds, or at least there's some patches in there that are identical to the ones that come out of the boutique. But to my ears, the boutique actually does a better job delivering the sound. I don't know why. Maybe it's my imagination. I just don't know, because the Phantom is a pretty awesome machine, and it has an analog filter. And you would think that with the newer technology and the analog filter, that something would be going on to make it sound just as good. But to my ears, the boutique actually sounds better than the Phantom. And again, it could all be my imagination. I just don't know. It could also be the digital audio converters, as we call them, DACs. So I'm not exactly sure why. It just does. The other thing is, I've searched the Phantom for many of the sound patches that come on the boutique, and as of to date, I don't see very many of them. Yes, I can find some of them, but not all of them. And there's tons of them in here, over 300 patches in the boutique alone. But let me give you some of the patches here tonight. I'm going to play some of them. So let's do that. Aren't those strings just so lovely? They're so beautiful. There's so many beautiful sounds, powerful sounds even. A combination of everything that you can think of, a full palette. And one could take this synthesizer and make an entire album and never sound monotonous. It's just an amazing synthesizer. I'm so excited that I own one of these. The prices are only going up, and maybe after this video, they're going to go even higher, right? I hope not. I hope that's not the effect. They certainly are worth the price that I paid for this one, which was around $400 and some change. You get really lucky if you find them in the $400 range, because I've seen them go up to around $600 to $1,000. Now, because there were so many of these made and there's so many of them floating around, I wouldn't pay over $500 for one of these in excellent condition as it is now. However, I have to be honest with you. This is something that has been brought from yesteryear into modern times and has, in my opinion, retained its nostalgic vibe. There is nothing wrong with getting a boutique and replacing it with a failing D50 if you have one in your studio, original D50 or the rack, which is the D550, and it's just like on its last legs, it's ready to die. There's nothing wrong with getting a boutique to replace that. And I think that Roland has done an incredible job reviving the D50. And they should have done this a long time ago. But I think what it is that maybe they were thinking the sounds were dated. And you have to understand that Roland, I don't know. Sometimes I think they ought to be called recycle because Roland, throughout the years, they have recycled their sounds over and over again. I'm not trying to be super critical, and I'm all for a company bringing us what we want and trying to put a new spin on it. Roland's been doing that throughout the years. What synth company really hasn't? I mean, there's a lot of synth companies that just recycle their sounds. Now, my point is that this is more than recycling sounds. This is taking the actual soul of a D50. And I talk about this a lot on my channel, the soul of a synthesizer. I feel like I'm back in the 80s playing a D50 when I'm working on a D-05. That's important to me. That's exciting to me. It gets me so excited. And here's the funny thing. I love nostalgia, especially 80s stuff. And when I play one of these D-05s, I start gassing for a real D50. But I had one. It was one of the very first synthesizers I ever owned. And unfortunately, it was broken. There's a long story behind that. It was DOA. And I just don't want to have to deal with vintage gear and problems if I don't have to. And with the boutique D-05, I don't have to deal with that. But enough talk right now. Let's play some more of the presets. So yeah, as you can hear, this thing is full of nostalgia. One of the best boutiques from Roland, in my opinion, thus far. So I'm very glad that I got it. It's a keeper for sure. And there's not a whole lot of places that you can find every single one of these sounds all in one box. And this boutique, the D-05, it delivers. Now, there are some quirks about it that I don't like. It's tiny, it's small, it's little, but that's also a good thing because it fits in places that other synthesizers don't fit. So that's actually kind of good. It has one jack for output, and so you have to get one of those stereo Y split cords. So you go out in like one jack that's stereo and it splits out left and right. And that, I guess that's okay. It's a 1/8 size jack. I almost didn't have one when this thing arrived. I thought I had one, and I do. I did. but I had to look for it because it's not something that I keep in my studio because I never need it unless I get a boutique. So I was panicking when it arrived because I was like, oh no, and I'm going to have to go to the store and try to find one of these. And most of our music stores are limited on their hours still over here in some respects and items. I mean, it could be hard to find something like that. So that's a little downer. I mean, you have to be prepared for that. It's not a big deal. None of this is a big deal. USB power, again, I had to have a cord that was long enough, that was USB, that was one of those little tiny little sizes, and you got to like fit it in the back. And oh, man, sometimes those things frustrate me. I'm trying to fit those things inside the back there, and I can't get it in there. And the cord's not long enough, and so I had to go out and buy an extra long cord so that it'll reach over to my power outlet. Had to have the wall socket that the other end of the USB plugs into. Minor inconveniences because my studio isn't set up to receive something like that. But the cool thing is that this boutique is also a sound card, so you can just plug it into your computer and you can use it as a sound card. I mean, that's pretty cool. So you can actually record into your computer direct from this synthesizer, and you can listen back and play your audio through it. And so that's really cool that they included a sound card inside this machine. And that's a big plus. All this for around $400 and change, if you can still find them for that price. They are going up. They are going up. But if you're looking for a D50 and you just don't want to deal with vintage gear and upkeep, I would highly suggest getting the boutique. And again, it is an awkward piece because it doesn't conform to the standards of a studio such as mine. It is the most awkward piece in here because of that reason. But once you get it set up and you get it plugged in and everything is going, you hardly notice the differences until you disconnect it and try to move it around. And then you realize this thing is different. Anyways, that's what I want to talk about with you guys tonight. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Leave a comment below. Talk with me. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tap that bell. And until next time, keep calm and synth on.